Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to DADBEAR DIY and our new DADBEAR Downtime series of videos, including playthroughs of Space Engineers. And today we are going to continue where we left off from our Getting Started with Space Engineers in 2023 Survival Guide, Part 2. And yesterday, when we finished Part 1, we left off the Learning to Survive scenario. We finished the first part of our tasks, and now I want to show you the next step in being able to set up your game, because there is a menu that you do not get to access when you first start a game. You actually have to do it on a load screen, unless you're doing a custom game. We're choosing one of the pre-made scenarios, Learning to Survive. Double click this, and now we're in our load game menu. We click Learning to Survive. This is our save and where we left off yesterday. But from here, you see we have this button over here on the left, Edit Settings. If we click that, we get this screen here where you can change the name of your save. You can write a description if you want. You can change the game mode. So we started as a survival. You can also change it to creative, which I described in the last episode. This is for your, we'll call this your artistic building pleasure. This is survival. Okay. We're not going to be changing that. Online mode, we're going to be leaving it in offline mode. For those of you that do play online, you can choose to make this a private game, just a game for people you have marked as friends, and this is typically through Steam, and then public. If you're running this off your home computer, though, it's probably going to be offline or friends. And then you can choose the max number of players you have on board. We do have autosave selected. That was something that we did have before. These here are the two important ones. As far as mods go, we haven't talked about mods really, other than some of the settings we saw when we went through the options tab when we started the game. And we're not going to mess with that right now. But this right here, these are your advanced world configurations. This is some of the stuff that can adjust the gameplay. It can really improve what we'll call quality of life for the beginning gamer. Character inventory size. I'm going to go through these, and we're going to go ahead and set them, and I'm going to set them up as I feel like it would be a good place for a new player. Character inventory size, you can select between these four settings. ×3 or ×5 is usually where I would land. If you're really looking to give yourself a challenge, or you can drop it down to realistic. No matter how helpful it is to me, I'm always just a little bit hesitant to use ×10. It just doesn't, to me, it doesn't come across as realistic. Block inventory size. Same thing here. Now, when I set up my games, I say if I set this to 3, I will still usually keep my block inventory size realistic. Okay. Assembler efficiency. This determines how fast your assembler can build things. If you want to leave it at realistic, it's only going to, it's going to build at its stat thing. If you add modules to it to increase its speed, that speed will go up. But if you don't, this is, again, for a starter. This particular scenario, I really don't feel like we need to mess with this. We're not going to change our assembler efficiency or our refinery speed. This is just stuff that can make the game a little bit easier, not waiting around for stuff to get processed or built as quickly. Um, welding speed, I'm going to leave it at ×2. You can take it up to ×5. You can even slow it down if you want to make things hard. Same thing with grinding speed. For a new player, leave your environmental hostility at safe. The levels are safe, normal, cataclysm, and Armageddon. This determines the frequency of meteor storms. Meteor storms in this game are incredibly unrealistic. They come in at just a very disturbing frequency, and they always seem to target your most important piece of equipment. So it can ruin a playthrough. Once you've gotten into the game and you've played it for a little while and you want to try it, you can try going to normal and see how it affects your game. But otherwise, as a beginning player, leave this as safe. Sound mode. I didn't really know the difference between this and realistic until I actually switched over. And I'm going to recommend you keep it on arcade mode. When I switched over to realistic, I was out in space and I was around an asteroid and I was drilling and everything was muffled. It was weird. And what it was, to me, it's like, okay, it kind of gives me the sense that I'm in space, I'm wearing a helmet, I'm not going to be able to hear things as well. You can leave it on arcade. You can try realistic if you want, but just leave it at arcade for right now. Limit world size. Okay, so you can see, I'll read it real quick because I know it's going to be small print. When set, the game area is limited to a cube with the side length set to the chosen size. All objects that leave that game area will be removed from the game. Characters leaving the game will be killed. If you got a performance thing, an issue, you want to limit. You don't want people to be able to travel within, so far, say you want 100 or 1,000 kilometers by 1,000 kilometers. That's going to be the size of your universe. Anything that travels outside of that cube is going to get disappeared or derezzed or removed from the game. We leave it at unlimited. Again, if you're playing this on your computer and not a server, or you're not hosting a bunch of players or that kind of stuff, you can usually, some of these settings you can leave high and not worry about it affecting performance too much. View distance. Larger view distances can cause performance issues depending on how many objects are in the world. Large view distances are not recommended on worlds with high asteroid densities. I mentioned trees yesterday and how it's not that the game struggles to process when you've got a real long view distance to put those up. It just slows it down a little bit. So I will never go higher than 15 kilometers. In some cases, I'll bump down to 10, maybe 7. There is a downside to that. If you're in this game, changes to the voxels, and voxels are basically the surfaces of the planetary bodies. So whether it be a planet, a moon, or asteroids, changes to that surface are very easy to see. So you may be approaching a surface from a distance, and that may be a tree-covered part of a planet. If you haven't reached that threshold where the trees can be displayed, you will be able to see the surface of whatever you're going in. Since we're talking about trees, we'll talk about planet. You'd be able to see the surface of that planet, but you won't see the trees on it until it gets within the range that they're rendered. If the voxels have been manipulated at all, either a ship has crashed there or somebody has dug a hole in the ground or whatnot, you will be able to easily see that that ground has been manipulated. If you're in any kind of PvP scenario and you need to hide, that is something that is going to give away the fact that there's somebody in that area. So again, I typically I leave it at 15 as default and go from there. Next menu, respawn ship cooldown. Sets the respawn ship cooldown multiplier. Guess what? I've never done anything with this before, and this menu here is actually new since the latest update. So, cooldown's disabled. Don't worry about it. I just put cooldown's disabled. Okay? Now, enable sun rotation. Do you want the sun to rotate around your body? Now, I don't know if I think this has changed, but when I first started playing this game, the sun only rotated around planets and moons. If you were on an asteroid, the sun never rotated. So you could, if you had a base, you set up a base or a little outpost or whatnot on an asteroid, you could easily decide where you were going to put it to best take advantage of solar power because the sun wasn't going to rotate. I think this has changed. So your day duration, adjust the length of the day cycle. 2 hours, okay? That's the default here. I never do 2 hours. You'll be surprised how often you need, like, just when you're getting your solar panel set up or something like that, and the sun goes down. And you just needed something to keep you going, and then you've got to go for another so many hours beforehand. And 4 hours isn't that much different, but you'll come to appreciate it. Usually 4 hours. The last thing I think I've tried a 24-hour cycle one time. I don't know. I might try that again. Maybe we'll do a future something with that. I've done 6 hours before, but that 6 hours in darkness, if you're counting on solar energy at all, that 6 hours in darkness it's tough. It's tough. So I typically set it at 4. Okay. Max objects. I'm going to read this real quick. Maximum number of small objects floating in space. That could be pieces of ore, ingots, components. And then they got a warning. Values higher than 64 can significantly affect performance. If the game is having to track all these little pieces of debris or things that are floating around in space, it can affect performance. So what do? I always set this at 50 or 63 because that is what the way the increments here. I can get 64. Great. That's new. Couldn't do that before. Block limits. Now, even though this is selected, okay, block limits, there's no, right now, this setting is no limit on the size of your ship. There's no, limit on the maximum number of blocks each player can build. But you do have a PCU limit. PCU is important when it comes to servers that you're playing with other people, and most of them will have a PCU limit. You can't build more because everything you build has a PCU value. So if you build a small, we'll say a small grid rover, it may have depending on how complicated it is, you can go very basic. It can be less, I'm just going to throw a number less than 1,000 PCU. Well, that means you've got 99,000 PCU remaining that you can build before you have to start thinking about, okay, what do I need to get rid of in order to build what I want? If you're playing on your computer in a non-online game, turn your block limits off. Okay. If you're hosting a private game, I've done this where me and JBear and Penny Bear played together. So that's 3 people playing. I was hosting the game. I still didn't put the limits on. We never ran into any performance issues that way. So it's really more about when you're playing online. So we're gonna deselect that. So we're not gonna have block limits. Maximum backup saves. That's a personal preference of yours. If you want to, if you want to force yourself to live with the decisions and mistakes you make, you reduce this. We're going to leave it at 5. I don't think we're going to have any issues with that. Optimal spawn distance. This is for when you're playing online, whether it be you're on a multiplayer server or if you're hosting a game. Optimal spawn distance. When a new player comes in, they will spawn within a certain distance of another player. Not any specific one, just another player. So right now it's disabled because we're not doing an online game. We're doing just solo. All right, so here's the boxes we're going to need to go through. For your initial setup, I'm just going to set. Okay, I'm going to set this up, and then you can go back and change them as you want. Auto healing, always. When you're in a pressurized environment with high oxygen content and warm air, your health will heal up to 70%, no higher. You will have to find a med bay or a survival kit for the rest. But as long as you're inside a cockpit or a building or whatnot that is pressurized with a high oxygen content and warm air, you will heal up to 70%. We leave that checked. We are not going to enable spectator, but this is something we talked about yesterday when we talked about the F keys. If you enable this, spectator mode would be activated in the game while you're playing by hitting F8. And your spectator will start at the location where you initially spawned in. You can then move your spectator to where your location is or whatever. I have gotten to where I don't enable spectator because it's really tempting to use my spectator to get intel, and I want to try to keep myself from doing that. So we're not going to enable spectator. But you know what? Since this is a tutorial video, I'm going to enable it. We may use it in the video. Okay. Enable copy and paste. This is only available in creative mode, so it's going to be unselectable. Show player names. If there are other players in the games, it will show them with their names above their heads. Reset ownership. Never touched this. It removes ownership of all blocks. Never mind. Thruster damage. This is a realism thing. I've seen people play without this. Perhaps you've built a particular type of ship that you're trying to maintain an exterior aesthetic, and thrusters showing on the outside of that would ruin that aesthetic. So you have them placed inside. Well, if they're inside, they could damage things, so you turn off thruster damage. That way it doesn't damage anything, and you can maintain the exterior appearance of your ship or rover. Learned about that the hard way one time. But we're going to leave it on because it's realistic. Permanent death, we're not, of course, going to select that. Weapons enabled, absolutely going to select that. Cargo ships. This brings in random cargo ships. Will just kind of like, we'll spawn randomly and they'll fly by. In my world, I like to call those targets of opportunity. Destructible blocks, enables blocks destructions. Again, to me, this is a realism thing. We keep that in. In-game scripts. As you get comfortable with the game, you're going to start to explore the idea of putting mods in the game, and mods just aren't, somebody built a really cool little rover, and I want to be able to play with that rover. So the modding community for space engineers is like nothing I've ever seen before, And Keen, as much as I kind of praised them yesterday, the modding community has really held Keen to the fire to improve the quality of this game and keep the quality of this game what it is by setting a very high bar for what can be done in this game. When you if you get the chance to go through and go through the workshop and see some of the player created content for this game, it will blow your mind. Okay? It's not just objects. We're talking coding, programming, scenarios, in-game scripts. Okay? And a lot of in-game scripts, to me, are just common sense stuff that should be in the game anyway. Okay? But they can also bring incredible quality of life to the game. Like some of the stuff we've talked about when I mentioned the grind of the game and how we can use this menu, these advanced world settings, to kind of reduce that. When I talked about that in our first episode, a lot of these in-game scripts do just that. It's common sense. It's why wouldn't we have this? If I'm able to do all this other stuff, why would this not be something that I would have available? Since we are doing a keen developed pre-generated scenario, we're not going to be doing this anytime soon. We maybe after we've finished all the initial tasking and we start maybe playing around with our ships or anything that we get that we want to start, like maybe we want to start customizing some stuff. Then we'll look at in-game scripts, but for right now, I'm not going to enable it. It's not something you have to enable, but if you start playing with any modified content, just know that in-game scripts is probably going to need to be selected. Enable space respawn. Okay, this adds a spawn option. If you have auto spawn selected, which is a little bit further down the list here. If you have auto spawn or auto respawn on and you die, you will automatically respawn at the nearest spawning point, that being a survival kit or a med bay. Okay? Say you got attacked by pirates and your survival kit or your med bay got destroyed and then you got killed. You are not going to be able to respawn at those. So you will get a menu that comes up on the side that asks you where you want to respawn. Okay? It may not be anywhere near where you're at, but enabling spacesuit respawn right here allows you to respawn in space. That's all. Enable tool shake. Again, a realism thing. To me, it's never mattered. The volume of the tool sounds matters. It's extremely loud, which I'm sure you guys have seen. But I've never unselected this. Adaptive simulation quality enables quality reduction of deformations and explosions affecting fossils in case the CPU is on fire. Okay, so I guess this means that if your computer's starting to struggle and your CPU is getting overworked, it can start to deaden some of the quality, the detail of some of the rendering in order to compensate for the workload that your CPU is starting to have to take on. I'm going to leave it checked. I've never had any issue with this, so we'll leave that checked. Enable voxel hands. Voxel hands is a tool that allows you to shape the earth, the surfaces. Voxel hands is typically used whenever anybody wants to say smooth out an area to make a road on either a planet surface or an asteroid surface or a moon surface. I used it a little bit the first, I'd probably say, a year or two that I played the game. And since then I just tend to go over things. I don't bother trying to. It can be a little frustrating. It's not the most intuitive thing. So voxel hands, we're going to leave it off because it's not something we're going to worry about right now. We're still learning how to do things. Random encounters. These are space pirates. Okay. Enables randomly spawned abandoned ships and stations. I say this is our space pirates. Almost every single randomly spawned abandoned ship and station that I've come across has something to do with pirates. So just keep that in mind. We're keeping that. We're definitely keeping that. This is where I told you you can enable third-person view. I've seen some people recently disabling this to make the game more challenging. Like I said, I said then, good luck. Enable oxygen. We're doing this, enables oxygen processing. Again, this adds some realism to them. If oxygen seems to be a problem for you, like you keep running into the problem with running out of oxygen and that kind of stuff, you could disable that. But I figure it's learning. We might as well go ahead and learn how to work with oxygen. That kind of goes along with enable air tightness, allows pressurization of ships and stations. Next one here is enable convert to station. You have a ship. I guess you've seen, there's probably movies out there that have talked about this, or have just and you could do it here too. A lot of the scenarios involve a crashed ship. That kind of becomes your home base. If that ship is not going to be able to fly anymore, that kind of becomes your base of operations. Enabling convert to station. You can actually take a ship that moves around, flies around, and you can convert it to a static grid. Okay, a station. You won't be able, it doesn't matter if it's got thrusters or not, it doesn't, whatever, you won't be able to move it unless you turn it back into a ship. Unsupported stations, this is kind of weird. By enabling this option, grids will no longer turn dynamic when disconnected from static grids. Leave this unselected. There's really no reason to select this, so just leave it unselected. Enable jetpack, we definitely want that. You're going to leave that on spawn with tools. Okay. Every time you die and you respawn, you lose what you had on you. Your backpack is out there floating. Now, if you can get back to your backpack and collect all the stuff you had in it, great. If you want to add some challenge to it, you can deselect spawn with tools. And if you can't get back to your backpack before it deletes, you lose everything you had. And if you don't have tools, you're going to have to find tools. And that could be challenging. So for us, we're going to start with spawn with tools. We're going to leave that on. Enable voxel destruction. Okay, we want, if something crashes into the ground, whether it be an asteroid, moon, or a planet, voxel destruction is basically the crater. Okay, it's the crater. So we're going to leave that on. Enable drones. These are NPCs, environmental NPCs for players to deal with. You'll notice you've got drones, wolves, spiders. Drones and spiders can show up in any environment. They don't need oxygen. Wolves, of course, would have to be on an oxygen-rich planet. These things, I'm going to call them a nuisance. They really are a nuisance in the game. Not so much the drones. Spiders and wolves can wreak havoc on a playthrough. I never have them on. I'll be honest with you. I don't turn them on. I will turn on drones for my game, but we're not going to do that for right now. We're going to leave drones off. Remote block removal. If you have a PCU limit set, which we do not, this allows you, selecting this allows you to go into some administrative tools in the game and remotely delete some blocks to free up some PCU limit for you. It's selected. I'm going to leave it selected. It's not going to apply to us. Enable subgrid damage. Enables damage to subgrids originating from collisions, explosions, and other sources on connected grids. We recommend leaving this setting disabled for a more stable behavior. For this scenario, we're going to leave this off. Otherwise, I turn this on. Because to me, if I have a subgrid is basically, you have your main structure, and then if you build, say I build a crane on my ship that reaches out and it picks things up. Every time there's a movement joint, I've technically separated that from the main grid. So every one of those past that movement joint, whether it be a rotor or a hinge or a piston, stuff like that, is a subgrid. And a subgrid can then have its own subgrids, and you'll see how those are depicted in the game. If my main structure gets damaged, like I take missile hits or whatnot, and debris from my ship comes out and hits those subgrids, it should cause damage to me because it's real. That's realistic. That makes sense. If a ship is flying at 100 meters a second and runs into an asteroid, or the ship is going to break up some, and those pieces are going to continue to move through space as the laws of physics dictate, they're going to cause grid damage somewhere. So I usually leave that on. We're going to leave it off for right now. Enable friendly rocket damage. I really don't expect us to have to deal with this in this scenario, but to me, that's realistic. Again, this is like, your thruster damage enabled, enable subgrid damage, enable friendly rocket. That's all stuff that can really happen. Friendly fire is friendly fire. It can happen, okay? I'm going to go ahead and click it. Enable respawn ships. Enables respawning in ships. If disabled, respawning is only possible in the suit, in medical stations, or in survival kits. Now, I'm going to leave this unselected. This forces me to deal with having a place to respawn. I want health. Again, one of the primary things, health, oxygen, power, health, oxygen, power, health, oxygen, power. I want to protect my survival kit. I want to make sure that I have a place to respawn to. It puts a requirement in the game for me, so I'm not going to enable this. I'm going to scroll this down. We're almost at the bottom, guys, I promise. Enable progression. This may be one of the most important things you ever decide to do. Okay? For this scenario, we are not going to enable progression. If you enable progression, there is a technology tree that you have to work through in order to open up items that you can build. So think of it's a tech tree, okay? I can't build batteries without having built an assembler. So I have to build an assembler first before I even have the option to build a battery. Well, I only need a battery. So it's a tech tree. It doesn't take long to get used to how to use it, because once you learn what unlocks things, you can just build those things really quick, disassemble them, and then build the thing that you need to. But some of those items, when it comes to weapons that you would use to defend yourself against pirates or whatnot, some of those things require some pretty laden stuff. Think of it as somebody who is a brand new space engineer in the game versus a veteran. So a space engineer that's been engineering in space for years doesn't have to learn how to do, isn't going to be restricted by, they've got experience. That's what I like to think of it. So progression, if you enable progression, you're starting off as, say, like a junior engineer or an apprentice engineer, and you've got to kind of demonstrate your proficiency making certain things before you can start making more complicated things. If it's not enabled, you are a veteran engineer. Okay? You don't have to go through the whole learning process again. So for this scenario, we're going to leave it off. I do recommend, if you decide, when you decide to start your own maybe custom game, that you go in and enable progression. It may actually be enabled from default, so make sure you got to check your menus before you start your game. Do it. Do an Earth planet spawn. Go through. I'll show you the progression tree when we get in the game. and check it out, and you'll see what you'll have to do. But we're going to leave it off for right now. Auto respawn. This, if it's selected, it will automatically respawn you at the closest survival kit, med bay. Otherwise, it will give you the choice of where you want to. Your survival kit, your med bay may be on the list of options, but you'll also have the option to respawn in the other default areas. We're going to leave it. Super gridding. When we build in large grid, and we build in small grid. And you can't put large grid parts on small grid vehicles without some ingenuity. You can't put small grid parts on large grid parts without proper transitions. Okay. Super gridding allows you to connect small grid blocks. I'm going to use the blocks. Small grid light armor blocks to a large grid armor block. Normally you wouldn't be able to do that. I don't typically use super gridding. We'll leave it. We're not enable economy. We're absolutely going to do this. That's what gives us space credits, by the way. It should be on already, but okay. Enable bounty contracts. This is only for multiplayer. Those bounty contracts are for other players. Enable weather system. We're currently in space. It's not going to be an issue. When you do your first planetary start, until you start getting comfortable with, with putting together the baseline vanilla, shelter, power structure, I would leave weather systems off. You can always turn them on at any time through this menu, but I would start by leaving it off because there's nothing worse than being in a challenging environment. You're having to scrape for resources. You finally get enough to, you flipped your rover, so you've had to repair stuff that you don't normally, and you're trying to put together your place. And you've just ground down your survival kit to move it to your new base. And before you can get it built, you get struck by lightning and killed. Just leave weather systems off for right now. Enable aim assist. This is for controllers. Enables aim assist for controllers. Not using controllers. We're not going to use it. All right. Okay, guys. God, that took a lot longer than I wanted to. I'm really sorry about that. But let's go ahead and get on to our scenario. All right, so there we are. We're going to let this HUD render. Pause. Take a quick break, and I'll be right back. All right, guys, sorry about that. All right, so we're back in our game here. We've finished all the tasks here at this particular place, and we're in our ship. One thing we're going to do before we leave and head to our next set of tasks is we're going to collect all of the items that we gathered or that are in this particular storage compartment. Yeah, we'll go ahead and grab a gun. We haven't. And I'm kind of setting up my inventory here the way I like it. And we'll go ahead and grab all this stuff. And we're going to load this onto our ship, because we may need this where we're going. And there's our storage container. I'm going to hit Alt middle button to deposit all that. We're going to grab the rest of this. The batteries are going to take up a lot of our inventory, so I'm going to get those last. We'll take our, oh, I wasn't even able to get all of our cash. That's how much space we did. Okay. And we're going to take that iron and stone that we gathered, because right now we do not have a way to process that. Yes, a way to process that. I said that right. Okay. Money first. Thruster, that's from our unknown signal. Large tube, scrap. Let's see how much of this we can get all that. Almost all of it, okay. Now the stone, we can actually process the stone right now. That would go in to our survival kit. Our survival kit has limited processing and assembly capabilities, but in fact, it can only process stone. It cannot process iron ore. We'll need a refinery to do that, a basic refinery to start with. So we're going to drop all this in here. Just so you're aware, typically when it comes to space credits, I will store those in the pilot's seat. It just seems like a good place to do that. That way I always know where it is. I will normally put extra tools and magazines and weapons in there also. So that's for a rifle, not for a pistol, so we're going to take that, we're going to put that in the pilot's seat also. We also have extra bottles here, so sure enough, we'll put those in there too. Okay. And now at least we've got these materials to use when we get to our next set of tasks. And you can, to put inventory in here, you don't have to sit in the seat to do it. You can, as long as the seat's highlighted, you can hit I for inventory, and that will open up the seat's inventory, and you can place this stuff in. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to start with our tools, our bottles, and then put space credits in there. Alright, before we get started here though, you can see we have a survival kit on board this ship. It is currently off. That's what that offline means. So if you hit F or K to open this terminal, we can turn that block on. And since we do have hydrogen on this ship, let's see, what do we got here? O2 generator. Let's see what we got if we have ice in the O2 generator. We do. It's okay. Hydrogen power generator is actually that is an O2 gen. I wonder why it's labeled that way. Anyway, we do have ice, so this will refill our oxygen and hydrogen. Let me see what, if we go to our oxygen tank, it is currently 99.8% filled. Oh, okay, the hydrogen power generator is actually, that is actually a hydrogen engine. So I need to make sure that that ice is in. I'll do this. The helmet up here is your personal inventory. This is your connected inventory, so a ship or a station. We can scroll through this and we see that hydrogen power generator has ice in it, but we want it in the O2 generator. So we're going to scroll down here to the O2 generator and we're going to throw that in there. You can hear that engine kick on. It's getting hydrogen now. Alright, and we're going to hit F and refill our power. Now when you sit in your seat, that will also refill your power. So if nothing else, if you can find a seat to sit in, you'll be good there. Alright, so now we're in the pilot seat. Ooh, we do have something flying by. A Roco military mine layer. They're neutral to us, that's why they're white. If they were red, of course, they would be red And if they're friendly to us, I want to say that they would come in as either, might be, no, it's probably white. Probably white. It might be blue, but we'll see. So down here on our toolbar, we have two items in here. We've got one is our air vent, and that basically is if I actually, if we hit G, I can see, okay, so that air vent, that switch will turn depressurization on or off. This will help you save oxygen. So if you're going in and out, you won't be losing oxygen to depressurization. And then we have, of course, our survival kit on and off. That saves power. This is not the way. I'm going to show you how I would set up a ship, and we'll go from there. This here is a list of everything that's available to set a command for. Now, this doesn't mean this is everything on the ship, because you can set a particular item to not show up in the toolbar configurations, but this is where we've got one small cargo container, we've got an oxygen tank, an O2H2 generator. These are all our thrusters. These are ion thrusters. These are good in space. They use a lot of power, but they're good in space. And they use power from either a hydrogen engine and or batteries. We have 2 batteries. That's good. Other than that, these do not work in atmosphere. They are only 20% effective in atmosphere. If you try to land on a planet with atmosphere, these do not work very well, and you will most likely crash. So when you go to build your own ship or make modifications, keep that in mind. Okay? We're going to change these things here in this tool. But before we do that, because I don't think you'll see here, you got all blocks, light categories, and then thrusters. We want to kind of group these things together, so that's what we're going to do first. If we go to K, this little icon right here will show you hidden blocks. If I go to air vent here, you can see that one, I can toggle this block on and off. I can also toggle whether you can see this in the terminal, which is what we're in right now. Can I see the block in the toolbar configuration, which is what we were just in? It is currently on. If you want to see stuff that's hidden, you click on this, and you'll see that there are lots of other things that are not there, and they're actually marked. Like if we go to this ion thruster, you'll see that it has been selected to not show in the terminal. The reason this is here is so that this is a much cleaner control panel terminal than this. You have to scroll down through stuff, and that's so people will do that. They will hide things so that they can kind of clean up their control panel terminal. Other than lights, I don't see a need for it. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to select this thruster. I'm going to hit Shift to select everything right here, and then I'm going to put that back in. So now that you can see that that's lit up and it's not darkened. I'm also going to do that with the small cargo container, because I can, well, normally, well, I thought I'd be able to see what how full it is, but it doesn't matter. I'm not too worried about it. I want to group these thrusters together so that when I turn my thrusters on and off, they turn on as a group. So I select those thrusters, and then I'm going to come over here to block group, and we're going to make up a name. We're going to call this ship the pod. And these are ion thrusters, so I'm just going to say ions. And we're going to save that. That is going to create a group up here at the top. So say I'm selected here, and I've now selected all of those thrusters. We're going to do the same thing with the battery. We're just going to call that bats. Okay. I'm going to do another thing. That is, I'll call this a tip. Just like we use inertial dampeners, we'll turn those on and off when we're flying around in our spacesuit to save hydrogen. you can do the same thing to save power on your ship. Some people call it cruise control, whatnot. I'll show you what you can do. We're going to take all of the ion thrusters that face or that would push us in a direction. So I'm going to choose backwards. Okay, these right here tell you the direction that each thruster would push the ship. So this pushes the ship up, left, right. This pushes it backwards, or these are reverse thrusters. Okay, up, forward, forward, backward, forward, down. Okay, so everything that goes backwards, I'm going to group those two. Backward, backward, and we're going to group them as reverse ions. Rev ions. And everything else should be good. We do not have a connector or a landing gear on this ship, so we don't need to add that. I'm gonna move the air vent depressurization on the toolbar, and I'll also put a power button for the hydrogen power generator or hydrogen engine. In fact, I'm gonna rename that just because that's a little bit confusing. Okay. And that should be good for now. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this too. We don't need that. Okay. So now when we hit our G key to go to our toolbar configuration. All this stuff is the same here, but you notice now we've got groups. Okay. So these are the groups that we created. There's your bats, your ions, and your reverse ions. So to clear these items, you can double click them with your left mouse button. Now we've cleared that, and we can start dragging these down. Since there's no landing gear and there's no handbrake like you would see on a surface rover, we're going to start with batteries. You know what? We're going to plan ahead. We are going to modify this ship at some point, and it's probably going to have some tools on it. I'm going to save that first slot, number 1, for whatever tool we put on here. So I'm going to right click and I'm going to drag the pod batteries down to block 2. And when I do that, it's going to bring up a menu of commands that you can give. Now for batteries, you can turn them on and off. That's fine. I prefer to use recharge on and off because this will cycle between 2 states. Automatic operation, which is providing power when you need to provide power. Automatic will also recharge if more power is being generated than you're using. So that's automatic, okay? It'll charge and discharge as needed. When you switch this, it will go strictly to recharge. That's the easiest way to charge your batteries, okay? You can see we're currently in the auto state. Now for our ions, we've got 2 sets here. We want the whole group of ions first. We're gonna drag that down to number 3, and we're going to toggle that block on and off. And then reverse ions, we're going to drag that down and choose the same thing, on and off. Now, we're going to go to all blocks. I told you I was going to move the air vent control. I'm also going to add the hydrogen engine. I'm going to add the H2O2 generator. And then we're going to do a power on and off power toggle for the survival kit. First one we're going to do is the hydrogen engine. Toggle that block on and off. O2 H2 generator. Toggle that block on and off. I'm going to drag my survival kit down, and we're going to toggle that block on and off. And then finally we're going to grab the air vent, bring that down, and we're going to choose depressurize on and off. So this toggles between depressurize and pressurize. So the reason I've set this up this way is that so I can control what is providing power to the ship or not. Okay, so now when you look at our control bar, it's been changed down here. Ooh, started moving. There we go. So we're going to back away here. Our control keys, of course, are WASD, like we saw in our menu. Q and E are roll. So that's Q. This is E. Okay. Of course, W is forward. A is left. Right is D. Reverse is S. Now, if you want to go up, you hit your space bar. If you want to go down, you hit C. Again, I know this isn't, it's going to be different for the consoles, guys, but this is what we've got here. Okay. Now, just like when you're in your spacesuit, inertial dampeners, the Z key over here in the bottom left, works the same way. If I've got inertia, if dampeners are on, and I push forward and I let go of the W key, it's going to automatically slow down to a stop. If I turn Z off, inertial dampeners off, it's going to continue to move even though I stop pushing the W key. So I'm going to turn that back on, and then we come down. It is possible to dampen to another object like we did with that unknown signal that was moving on us. I've only been able, I don't know if it can be done from third person view. I think I've only been able to do that from first person view, which is looking out the cockpit. And if we hold down the Alt, we can actually turn our head and look around the inside. So even while you're in the cockpit, you can look around and, you can't interact with anything, but you can look around. And if you want to make sure you're recentered, you just double tap your V key and it'll make sure that you're looking straight ahead. So these are our ion engines. So if I want to, let's go through our stuff here real quick. Our batteries are on auto. Okay, when I hit 2, it switches to recharge, and you can hear the power shut down. But actually what it's using right now is our hydrogen engine. Okay, otherwise we would get no fuel. If I turn off the hydrogen engine, oh, we should have gotten a no fuel. We didn't. Interesting. Maybe that's because this is an early scenario. You can see the red lights. The red lights on our connectors there, I'm sorry, our conveyor tube and on our oxygen tank are red. That means there's no power available. If I hit 5, I thought that should have come on. Let's do a quick check here. I want to look at this. Hydrogen engine. It's off. On. It does not have any hydrogen in it right now, so let's see what's going on. Inventory. O2. Is all that ice gone already? Oh my goodness, there's no way. All that ice is gone. Wow, that filled the oxygen tank. Okay, so we have no hydrogen on board right now. That was used to fill that oxygen tank that you see there. So I'm going to go, since we have no hydrogen, I'm going to go ahead and turn off the hydrogen engine, and we're going to turn our batteries back on, and now we have power again. Okay. Good note. I hadn't done that in a while, so we have no hydrogen. Our survival kit is on. Our O2 generator is on. Since we're not using those right now, we're going to go ahead and turn those off because those do have a running power usage. Okay? So now we're saving energy as much as we can. All right. So using my mouse to turn things around here. Okay. Let's see, we have a construction facility up there. I'm trying to decide which one we're going to go to first. And this is ship mining and a mining outpost. We're going to go to the mining outpost first. because we're going to have to learn how to collect resources, and it's only 400 meters away. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and turn my inertial damp. Okay. We added the ability to turn off our reverse thrusters so that we could move and not automatically slow down. This helps save power, and as you can see, we're moving. Another way you can do this is you can just turn off your inertial dampeners. That will prevent any movement, left or right, up and down, anything, except when you press the key, but you will continue to move. This, by turning off just the reverse thrusters, if I turn, you'll see how the side thrusters still keep us in line. Does that make sense? So that's why I tend to use the toolbar option rather than dampeners, turning the dampeners off. Because if I turn the dampeners off, you'll notice nothing, you don't see any change in my motors as I'm going around. I turn this back on, and the ship will adjust itself. Let's go ahead and turn those back on to slow down now that we're getting close. You have to watch out for this debris, these little side guys. It doesn't matter how small a voxel is. It could be a tiny little nugget right here. If you hit it, it's like running into a planet. So be careful when you're approaching those, okay? Hopefully you'll never run into situations like I've seen where it was a pebble and it absolutely destroyed my ship because I was moving in at full speed. It's difficult to tell how close we are here, and the orientation is a little odd. So we're going to turn around like this. And we're going to slowly approach. Again, making sure we try not to hit any of these floating pieces of debris. And then once the ship has completely stopped moving, right, you can turn off your thrusters so they're not using any power. And we can go out and investigate this site. I'm going to go, before I leave, I'm going to turn on my survival kit in case something happens and I die, I can respawn. That door. Now you'll see all that air rush out? By using the airlock, you limit the amount of oxygen you lose, but there you go. So we're going to jetpack over here and see what we've got. So let's see. We have one task over here. Let's just do a quick inspection of what we got. We've got, okay, we have a connector here, so we're obviously going to be, at some point we'll hopefully be able to connect to that. Let's go in and check out, and we're going to drop down. There's obviously a gravity generator around here somewhere. Unknown signal, 4 kilometers away. That's a decent distance. Let's take care of this. Let's see what we have here. Oh, we got a small container. Let's take a look inside. Oh, we got some batteries, steel plate, computers and such. While we're here, we can look at what's in the rest of that. So we've got 2 connectors, another small container, and there's a basic assembler in here somewhere. Let's look at our control panel and we can see everything, including all the lights. There is a gravity generator. There's the beacon that we saw outside. Airtight hangar door, these are incomplete. There's our basic assembler, which is incomplete. Okay, let's check out what's hidden, if anything. No, nothing's hidden. Okay, so let's look around and see what this task is. Here's our bar. Oh, there are 2 buttons that are active. Let's see, this one is for, it says lights. That might be kind of hard to read. Let's see if it helps when I turn that off. Not too much. Okay, so this is starting, ooh, we have a miner. If I hold up my Okay, my welder shows that we have the beginnings of a basic assembler. There's our gravity generator, there's our battery. Wow, we've got a, ooh, that is a damaged, you see it smoking? Yeah, we have a damaged miner. Ion thrusters. That is a very strange connector location. Anyway, okay, so let's see what the task is. There's a useful mining ship here, but it needs to be repaired. The required components are likely near your current location, so we need to restore power to the mining ship. Okay, so that's our task. Okay, so this is ion powered, which means it uses electricity. Got an assembler. Let's take a look at what needs to be fixed here. What do we have here? I'm just kind of looking to see what else we have around. Connectors also act as small storage areas. You can store, in this case, with the settings we currently have in the game, you can store up to 8,000 liters of materials in a connector. So that's something good to know if you're ever at the beginning of a game and you have limited resources and you don't have the materials or the ability to manufacture materials to make storage compartments. You can usually make connectors and use them as makeshift storage items. Let's take a look at the inside of our, we don't have anything. Okay, so this rover, or this miner, there's a cockpit, 2 drills, 2 medium containers, and an oxygen generator. That's good. Okay. And let's, if we go into the cockpit, we could do it from the connector too, but let's just get in the cockpit. And we hit K to look and see what is actually a part of this. I'm going to go ahead and make sure that there's nothing's hidden. We have an antenna. So we have 2 batteries that are incomplete, an interior light that is incomplete, and we have 2 incomplete ion thrusters, one that goes right, one that goes forward. Landing gears, medium cargo containers, ore detector. That is important. We're going to go ahead and run. I'm just taking the opportunity. That ore detector, you always want to be at max range, and select broadcast using antennas. That way, when you leave the ship, as long as your antenna on your suit is on, you'll be able to see the locations of the ore that is being detected. Okay, so we really only have 4 things. I don't include the interior light. We can take care of that as the last bit. The main thing we need to do is restore power to this rover. So this battery 2 and battery 3, we need to find out what's missing from those and repair those. And then, after that, then we'll look at repairing the ion thrusters. As long as you have thrust in 6 directions in space, you don't necessarily have to have all of these. And we have, obviously, 2 other ion thrusters that are functional here. The other one I want to say was a forward thruster. That was correct? Yes, so this is the other one that was damaged. But we have 3 forward thrusters that are working there. Everything's good on the left. Let's take a look at the forward. So the reverse thrusters, we've got 3 reverse thrusters, 2 underneath and 1 on top. So we're good again. And the ones that go down, there you go. Those are fine. Okay, so here's our 2 batteries. So let's go in and see how close we are. We need 9 power cells, 2 computers, construction components, and steel plate to make that 100% functional. I'm going to right click on that. Those components have been added to our build planner like we did on the first task platform. Let's take a look at this one. This one only needs 1 power cell and then computers. It is almost functional. I think as long as you have the power cells, it's functional. So we're going to right click on this also. Okay. And then we are going to head over here and see if we've got this material available. I'm pretty sure we do. Okay, so we're going to use this right here, withdraw components for the build planner. So those two batteries that we right-clicked on added the needed components to the build planner. If we hit this button, it will draw everything that is available in this small cargo container inventory over to our personal inventory for the build planner. There you go, 10. We needed 10 batteries total, 4 computers, 6 construction components, and 40 steel plate. And now if we go over here and there we go. There we go. We have restored power to the mining ship. Go ahead and fix this one too. Okay, so now our next task is to enter the mining ship, select the drills on your toolbar, and use the right mouse function to create a tunnel in order to escape. Press P to unlock the landing gears. So our task is to find a way to escape with the mining ship. So evidently, these do not work. And as you can see, airtight hangar doors require a lot of steel plate. A lot of steel plate. Okay? We do not have enough steel plate to fix these and allow us to fly out. We're going to finish. We are going to get this fixed, but that's not what our current task is. They want us to tunnel out. And when I showed you guys the tunneling versus collecting procedure with our hand drill, it works the same way with the ship. Let's switch to third person. And now you notice, if you look down on our toolbar, we have drills in our #1 slot. That is a block tool. If you go to G, you now have this up here, block tool. So if you have this tool installed on a ship, this will show up in your block tools. This isn't the same as just turning a drill on and turning it off. You can add that control down here so that it remains running. But by having this in this spot, if you push the left button, the drills will drill and collect. If you hit the right button, it will tunnel like we did with our hand drill. I'm not going to demonstrate that right now because if I do, all that stone you see that's underneath that platform will start to disappear. Not that that's a risk or anything, just I'm not going to bother doing it. While we're here, we're going to go ahead and take the opportunity to group our batteries, group our thrusters, just like we did with our pod. Okay, so battery 2 and 3, and we're going to call this, of course, a miner. Bats. Okay. This is not a ground rover, so we are not going to be using the handbrake option. We do have a connector. We are going to be using that. We'll add that to the back of the, that'll be at the end of the toolbar when we add that. I'll show you why. Let's go ahead and get our thrusters together. And we're going to shift select to get all of those thrusters. Name them ions. And we're going to do the same thing that we did with our pod. We're going to take all of the reverse or the backwards, the reverse ions and group them together. Okay. Minor, reverse ions. And the last thing we're going to do is we are going to take, you see we have landing gear. We're going to group our landing gear. And I'll show you why in just a minute. Minor. And we're just going to call this gear. It makes it easy to search for because nothing else in the game is called gear. So if if I go up here and I'm looking to see if this particular platform has a particular opponent, if I hit gear, it's only going to show these things, right? Another thing, when we do our reverse, since it's a backwards push, if you type backwards, you're only going to see the backwards thrusters. Just a shortcut for you. Now, landing gear. So this right here are the common controls for your landing gear. Lock, unlock. Just like the big landing gear we saw on our starter platform, okay? Auto lock is not enabled, but do you see this here, used for parking? We are going to deselect this. I know that our taskbar said to use P to unlock your landing gear. We do not use park for landing gear. We don't use park for connectors. It is a lesson you will learn very quickly. It can lead to disaster. Okay, so I'll show you how we are going to set up our landing gear. Let's go to our G menu where we can set our toolbars. We're going to go to groups, power. We're going to select recharge on and off. Now you notice that time I didn't have to drag it down. That's because I wasn't trying to skip an open space. It will automatically fill the next open space. But since we were saving room on our pod for a possible tool, I had to drag it down to the specific box I wanted. Minor ions, we want to turn those on. Our reverse ions, we're going to put that next. And then landing gear, we're going to right click and we are going to select switch lock. That will switch between lock and unlocked. Okay, now we'll go back to all blocks. And we're going to take our connector and we're going to drop it in block number 9. So that's right click, drag, and we're going to do the same thing, switch lock. And that's going to be our toolbar. Let's go and make sure our connector is not set up to park either. Ah, see it was. Take that off. Now, our ion thrusters are on. Our batteries are on. If you look down here, you'll see neither one of our landing gear are locked. They're showing white right now, so this should not be an issue. So we should be able to fly from this point on. There you go. A little bit of lift. Since we're in really tight quarters here, third person is going to be difficult to maneuver. You see how third person adjusts when it's a tight space? It can make it difficult to get in and out. We're going to try it. We're going to go with this first. We'll move into this open space. Kind of look around. We're going to look to see if there's actually a way out of here. There isn't. Okay. There's still a lot of iron here, though. I really don't want to waste iron tunneling out. So, let's see. I want to try to avoid the iron while tunneling. Remember, left click on your mouse. If you look, we can see number 1 is highlighted, right? I'm hitting number 1 to make sure we're enabling the drills. Okay. Remember, left collects, right tunnels, and you'll see how it moved. Do you see how it cleared so much of that stone away? That's what we're going to try to do. And again, I don't want to waste any of this iron, so I'm going to try to avoid it. And we're going to tunnel this way. Now from this perspective, be careful with your third person. You can alter your third. See that crosshair? That crosshair kind of shows you the direction that you're actually pointing, but it's hard to tell from here. So I'm going to go ahead and switch back to first person. Get myself lined up in the direction I want to go. See, there's iron in that direction too. I really want to be careful. I don't want to waste any of that iron. That's the direction I want to go. I'm going to hit the right button to get our tunneling going. You'll start to see it's moving stone. be a tough one. Oh, no, it's not. Look, we happen to be right near the edge. That's awesome. Okay, and as we move through this slowly, you'll see this hole widens out. Tunneling makes a big hole. Okay, we're out. And we just completed that task. Brilliant. While using the drills, use the left mouse button to collect ore and right mouse button to create tunnels fast. There you go. Okay, outstanding. So that task has been done. Okay, so we have finished the tasks here. There's also silicon on this rock. Good to know. And nickel. Outstanding. Okay. All valuable components. You notice there are spotlights on the front of this miner. If you want to turn those off, you hit L. It doesn't turn off the rest of the lights. You'll notice we still have our blinking lights, and the ones on the front, the interior lights that are on the front. So we're going to go ahead and move this guy. And we could actually spend some time here collecting some resources and using our survival kit to do that, to refine some of that stone into the basic components. I am going to take this opportunity with this miner though right now to clear some of these large pieces of asteroid using the tunneling. So the right mouse button. I'm going to get rid of these so that they are less of a threat to our ship. As we see, that one's gone. Let's move back. I know there's one like real close to the ship here. We're going to try to get rid of these guys, okay? Just make it a little bit easier to get in and out. It's this one down here, I think, that I'm worried about. Now, drills can cause damage to your ship, so be careful when you're using them. There we go. There's our lights. Turn those back on. I'm going to move in and take care of this boulder. Care of this boulder. I'll start low and work my way up. Be very careful. See those little slivers right there? Those are the ones that get you because you can't see them, especially when you're traveling at 100 meters a second, and they will destroy your ship. Let's go ahead and get this one. Oh, that one would have been terrible. Oh, would have been terrible. See that little, do you see that right there on the crosshair? That little pep can destroy your ship. Just letting you know. Okay, so that cleared the majority of the immediate threat around our pod. Okay. Now, like I said, we could sit here and collect some resources, but you guys don't need me to sit here and do all that. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our miner and we're going to park it right on top of our pod. If I can, let's see. If our landing gear will actually fit on it. I don't know if it will or not. See, this miner is a small grid miner. Our pod is a large grid miner. Or, I'm sorry, a large grid ship. So, and there's no connector. Although, if you guys want to, I'll show you how to be a little creative here. If we're going to connect these two, we might be able to do some. I think you guys will like this. Alright, we're going to do a quick trick here, okay? I'm going to go ahead and turn off my thrusters just so I'm not wasting energy. We're going to get out, and this base has two connectors. Okay? This connector here is attached to that other connector out there. So normally these doors would open, miner would come in, do its mining, it would come back, it would attach to this, and then another ship could come out and attach to the other connector, and you could offload directly to that. We don't have to worry about that right now. We are going to take this, and we're going to move it. This says it is connected to something. Nope, that's just red. Alright, see there's another cargo container right there. And there is nothing in that one. We will go over here though. Moon jump. We are going to take the rest of the materials out of here. Okay, we'll have to run those back out. Leave that open since we're up here. What do I have in my inventory? We're going to put a connector onto this ship that will allow us to attach our miner to it via connector. So I'm going to finish, put this down. I'm going to put all these items inside here. We're still good on space. We've got about half of our container full. Head back out, collect the rest of the stuff in that, because we don't want to leave these resources behind if we're going to need them at the next task location. We will leave the tools because we already have tools. And I don't think there's anything in here that we really need to salvage. This will eventually need to be rebuilt, I'm sure at some point, but right now we're good. Ooh, do you see that? Do you see that little block right there? God, I hate those. They're horrible. Alright, put this in. We're going to take our ship over there and get rid of that. Because again, my luck, I'll run into that. Let's take care of this. We'll turn our thrusters back on. Our lights. Where are you, buddy? I saw you down there. There you are. There it is. See that little rectangle? Yeah. Little guys. Where'd he go? I think I got it. Yeah. Maybe I did. Platform here. Yeah, we got it that time. Okay. Alright. Cleared that thread. Alright. Now, let's get a connector set up for this. Now when you connect it, whoa, we got a red, ooh, pirate rust freighter. Not a threat, far enough away. The rust freighters that the pirates often use are exactly that. They are a freighter. They have large cargo capacity. They are a large grid ship. They are much bigger than our pod. They have some defenses, but they don't have a great offensive capability. It is more just for them to try to escape, which is what they will try to do if you try to attack them. So we're not going to be doing that right now. We don't have to worry about it, but you can see he is flying by. And unless he gets within, I don't even know if he would try anything within 1.5 kilometers to get to us. So we need some interior plate. That's what we're looking for. We are looking for some interior plate. See if we have any on board. We do. We have 91 interior plate. Okay. So I need to build a junction connector that will, and we've got, this is actually going to work well for us because I could build an L shape, an elbow right here, and then we could put a connector on it facing forward, and then we could bring our miner in and back it right up and connect it. But it would be right along the top of our ship. And the connectors, the way they line up, this being a small grid and this being a large grid, there wouldn't be, this space is what I'd be worried about. This extra block, this extra small block of space would actually be colliding with our ship. So I'm actually going to do, it's not going to be pretty, but we're going to do we're going to come up a block, and then we're going to do our elbow, put our connector on, and then connect our miner to it. Okay, so we're going to need to change our toolbar. And this will be the first time we've had to change our player toolbar. Alright, if you hit 0, you put away your tools. It makes your screen easier to see. Okay, so I'm going to face the darkness here because it makes the toolbar easier to see. 1, 2, 3 are your basic tools. This is the default toolbar. 4 is a small or a light armor block, various shapes. You have your basic assembler, number 5, a basic refinery, a wind turbine, then you have your solar panels / wind turbine selection, and then you have landing gear. 0 is, of course, empty hands. You put away your tools. We could just go, if you hit Control 2, you go to your second toolbar, and you could just start filling in here. This gives you 9 full toolbars, 81 total slots to put information. I've filled all of those before, easily, okay? But we're in space, okay, so let's be smart about this. I know here in the future, I'm probably going to have to build a basic assembler, so I'm not going to mess with number 5. Number 6, I'm going to have to build a basic refinery or repair one. I'm not going to mess with that. Wind turbines don't work in space, so I am not going to use that. And 8, solar panel, you see it's got the plus sign, that means that there are other options. The wind turbine is on that other options. So why do I need a separate wind turbine? I don't. We're going to get rid of it. G key. So we come to our toolbar configuration. We're going to double click on number 7 and we're going to delete that. I do need conveyors. So if I scroll down my list here, I'll find conveyors right here. Conveyor junction, you notice it's got the plus. If I select this, you can see all the different items that are available in that selection. Now, this block and this block up here indicate whether you're building large grid or small grid. We are going to be building large grid because we're coming off of our pod. Okay? Now, like I said, I wanted to come up, then turn 90 degrees, and then we're going to add a connector. So if you look at these different things here, you have a junction blocks. This gives you 6 connection points, like a dice. Okay, you can go off in 6 different directions. You also have conveyor tubes, which include straight tubes, 90-degree tubes, T-shaped, and then, real quick, we'll skip this for just a second. This right here is an armored version of a conveyor tube, reinforced. Conveyor tube, reinforced curved, that's the same as the 90-degree, and then a reinforced T-junction. This is a cover. Alright, you can use these to cover up the non-used surfaces on your conveyor junctions. We're going to go up 1, so we're going to use a straight tube. And the reason we're going to use a straight tube rather than just another conveyor junction is you can see the difference in the required components. Conveyor junction requires more stuff than a tube. So we're saving resources by using the tube. If I click that and then I hit this plus, I'm added that to the build planner. Then we're going to need a 90-degree tube. I select that, hit plus down here. Now those are added, so when I go back to my inventory and I hit my middle mouse button, it's going to try to pull all of those components that it needs. Then we'll find out if we actually need to make anything. Okay. Now, I've added that to the build planner, but I actually haven't added this to my toolbar. So I go over here to this conveyor junction, which we had selected before with a left click, and I'm going to hit right click. And now you can see that's in the bottom there on number 7. Okay. Now, I'm going to need a connector. Connectors can be found here. This tool group right here includes collectors and a connector. We shouldn't need the collector anytime soon, so I'm not going to bother describing it. The connector, though, we are going to need. And again, you can choose between large grid and small grid. This is a this requires 150 steel plate. That's to make it 100% functional, like 100% complete. I think it's only 120 to be functional. But we are going to need this, so we're going to add that to our build planner also. Now again, we haven't added it to our toolbar, and since our toolbar is full, and these are probably worth keeping where they're at, let's go ahead and Control 2, and we'll start our next toolbar. Right click. There we go. And now we have that available on our toolbar. So when we close this, we're looking at toolbar 2. Control 1 will get us back to our original control bar. And you'll use Control 1 through 9 to get through your 9 different possible toolbars. Excuse me, sorry guys. But we need conveyors right now, so we're going to hit 7. Now, this is the first time we're going to be placing a block. So you can see how your hand is kind of holding it. I can move it around like this. I can move it right. You notice how it's not rotating. You're rotating. It looks like it was rotating, but it wasn't him. I'm sorry, it wasn't the block. It was you. Now we're in this weird position. Okay, so we're going to roll down. We do have another unknown signal. It's only 2.3 kilometers away, 2.4 kilometers away. We'll probably go get that one. But we're going to get this started first. Get back to first person. Now, your crosshair is what you're looking at. If I place this down, you can see how it automatically connects or it lines up. But say you have, we're going to use our mouse wheel to scroll through our different blocks available. So say I have a curved tube and I want it to face toward the front of the thing. How do I do that? In the first video I told you guys about the keys above the arrow keys on your keyboard provide the movement when you're placing blocks. Okay, so insert, delete, home, end, page up, page down. Okay, so delete and page down are kind of like the left right. Okay, and this it can be confusing sometimes. Home and end are kind of up and down. This won't want to switch. If I bring this out here, you'll see up and down, and then insert and page up are a roll. Okay, so it'll roll it that way. Now, if it's already aligned to a grid, and that movement doesn't really like do anything, it might be limited. So just so you know. All right, let's grab. And again, we're going to be using the straight piece. So if I come down here and I go to our container and I hit middle mouse, oh, we had all the components in order to be able to make not only the 2 conveyor tubes, but the connector. That's awesome. Okay. So we're going to come up one. We're going to use our straight tube. Okay. We're going to come up to the top of that. We're going to scroll one more. And we want our 90 degrees to point toward the front of the ship. So we're going to rotate it using page down in my case. We're going to click that. We'll get that in shape. All right, and we're going to go ahead and add the connector, which means we jump to our second toolbar. We hit number 1. Now this is a collector, okay? Collector, connector, connector. I'm sorry, collector, connector. Okay, you notice the connector is taller than it is wide. Okay? You can actually mount things to the top and the bottom of a connector. Dadgummit. Okay, top and bottom. But you cannot mount anything on the sides because it is more narrow. So just keep that in mind. Might be something you need in the future. Okay? I accidentally touched the small grid. I touched the small grid, so it switched to small grid. Let me go here. There we go. And we're going to click that. Now we're going to go back to our first toolbar, Control 1. We're going to get our welder out, and we're going to start welding. If you poke your eyes down to the bottom left corner, you'll see that our power is starting to run low. So we're going to need to go back inside our ship and recharge here in a moment.
Energy low.
Oh, there's our warning. Okay. Now, we're going to go in, we're going to charge up, but we're also going to take this opportunity to do the same safety measure we did with our miners connector. We are going to make sure that it is not set up for parking. Okay. There's our connector. Click that, and we're going to come down, and we are going to deselect used for parking. Okay. Now, while we're also in our cockpit here, we're going to take the opportunity to add that connector to our toolbar. So we're going to go to G. We're going to right click, because we still have this block open down here. If I try to add this right now, like if I were to say turn that on, see how it adds it to the first open block? We don't want that. So we're going to double click that to get rid of it. We're going to right click and drag that down to our last space, and we're going to choose switch lock. Okay. Our power has recharged. We're going to head back out. I just wasted some oxygen. Oh, that was terrible. Okay. All right, so now we're ready to hook up. We're going to do this with, we're going to get in the miner, and we're going to back up and connect to this. Be aware, if you don't have your thrusters on, and you bump into something, you might start it moving. It'll drift. Part of the reason why we're going to use the miner to back up rather than use the big ship to come in is if we come in and we hit this guy, he's going to go moving that way and probably crash into the rocks. So if we turn on our thrusters, I don't think we have to worry about the small ship moving the large ship. So this is probably not that much. Just the difference in mass is, you want to approach slowly. Magnetism, there you go. They magnetize together. And now that we're magnetized, we can hit our switch lock. You'll notice down number 9, it says ready to. That's ready to lock. If we hit that button, 9, we are now locked. It shows it down on the screen. And we're going to turn our engines off, because otherwise our engines will fight the movement of the big ship when we go to leave. Okay? Make sure our lights are off. We're not... In fact, we can actually, at this point, we can charge our batteries off at the big ship by hitting number 2. Okay? Which should not be an issue, because we're going to go... I'm sure we're going to be collecting some ice here before too long. Okay. In the meantime, let's jump in, make sure I got stuff turned on. Locked. O2H2 is on and off. We're good there. We'll turn our engines on. And we are going to set up... Hold on, I'm sorry, wrong button. We're going to get out of our seat. This can be done from the pilot seat. It doesn't have to be done outside, but I'm going to use the outside just to show you guys. This survival kit, this is where we'll you know, regain our health and our, there we go, I got bumped into the air. You can also put stuff in it. It is hooked up to a conveyor system, and we are actually going to use this to start processing some of that stone that we initially collected. Okay, so if you look at our inventory and we hide empty, you can see our flight seat contains this information, or this stuff. Our small cargo container contains this. We have 2.49 kilograms of stone. That can be turned into iron, silicon, and nickel. But to do that, we have to process it. The survival kit has limited processing capabilities. The only way it can process stone is if you tell it you need to produce gravel. It crushes the stone, the gravel gets separated from the iron, the silicon, and the nickel. And that's the extent of refining. So, production, this is our survival kit. If you had more than one, there would be other options down here. It started here where you can, these are the only components we can produce from a starter kit. Equipment, a data pad, tools, and ammunition. These are the only items that can be produced. We need gravel. These are all red. You notice that because we don't have the materials to make them. We can make gravel because we have stone. It takes 100 stone to make 1 gravel ingot. Okay, so what we're going to do is you can click this, and for each time you click it, it'll build 1. If you hit Control and click, it'll build 10. If you hit Shift and click, it'll build 100. If you hold Control and Shift together and you click it, it'll build 1,000. That's what we're going to do. So you notice now our stone is being broken down into gravel, iron, nickel, and silicon. These are all items that we can use to produce. Actually, we'll pull that back up real quick. And now you notice, since we have that, we can make these basic components. Okay? All these things are available now. Okay. So we're going to let that do that while we go to our next task. Making use of our time. Alright. Okay, so we're going to back up. Back up here a little bit so I can see. We're going to go check out that unknown signal. Okay. Oh, it's up near the rock. We're going to turn our reverse thrust off. That's 4. We're going to get moving forward. Hopefully not hit anything along the way. That's real close to our starting platform. Huh, interesting. It's like it may have landed on it. That is crazy. It's cool, but it's crazy. If you look down your bottom right, you can see our power situation. We've got 2 days of power left. Right now, of course, we're just cruising along. We're not using any extra energy to move at 40 meters a second. We're starting to get close though, so I'm going to start slowing us down at about 500. We're only doing 40 meters a second, so now put our reverse thrusters on, and you can see when those kick in, our power situation drops to 49 minutes. That's why we save power. Okay, start moving in. I probably could have stopped this, like put those on at like 300 meters away. Let's change our view. See, there's our unknown signal. Let's get in close and actually see what kind of signals is. Are we going to have to chase this one? I guess that's the question. Okay. All right. Now. Okay. We're in space. We don't have a gravity generator on the ship. So when you jump out of your chair, you're technically floating. Do you see this? I'm technically floating, and I can't move unless I have my jetpack on. My jetpack is not on, as you can see over here on the bottom left. if I hit that and I go down and I take it off, you'll notice that switches to mag boots. Only in zero gravity do you have mag boots. Just so you know. This is our air vent. It's what's pressurizing our system. I'm going to click this button. I'm going to go down and I'm going to hit depressurize. What that is going to do is it's going to suck all the oxygen out of this area and it's going to store it in that oxygen tank. Now when I open the door, I don't lose air. So that's how you save your oxygen when you're going in and out. We have less than 2 minutes to get this going. Let's see what this guy looks like. I can't tell if he's got a thruster on him or not. He looks like he might have a... If it's a... No thruster, that's a battery. Okay. These typically, when they have a thruster, they have an atmospheric thruster, which would not work in space. So let's see what we got. Lava suit. Badger gloves. And I got so many badger gloves. You guys want any badger gloves? Alright. Money. Components and power kits. This is a consumable. If you're running out of power, you can right click this and it will give you a little bit of power. Not a ton, but a little bit. You can save your butt. But that's about it for emergencies. And unfortunately, they take up a lot more space than you'd think. So I don't tend to carry them, but oh, I just accidentally ground some canvas that came out of the special content there. That parachute, I feel bad about that. Go ahead and take these steel plates. Now you're floating around to run into, especially if you're on our base. And it blew up. At least it didn't hurt me. Okay. We ran out of time. I should have ground down that battery first. That's what I should have done. Because it's the battery that blows up. We got a little bit. We're going to drop that in there. Okay. Let's turn our... Actually, we can do this because I added this function to our toolbar. If you look at number 8, that's the depressurize on and off. If we get out of our seat now and we look up, you'll see that those lines are green. That means this space is pressurized. Can I walk? I can. Yay. Okay. And now let's take a look at our survival kit and see what our production is at. All right. We were able to process... We requested a 1,000 and we actually got 33.6 gravel, but we got a little bit of iron, a little bit of nickel, and a little bit of silicon. So again, we may need that in the future here. So all right, next we have ship tools, we have ship building. Ship tools is a little bit closer, so why don't we go there first? Turn off our reverse thrusters. We're going to roll that way. There is something flickering right there. Not sure what that is. Is that our original platform right there? Not sure if that is or not. It almost looks like the solar panels that we saw before. It might be. I think that's a meteorite. Yeah, that just looks like a meteor fragment. Okay, ship tools. Let's go ahead and turn our reverse thrusters on. Ooh, we have ice over here. Perfect. Great. Excuse me. All right, guys. So let's see. We're gonna get. We've got ice over here, so we'll probably be higher. That might be part of the task. Let's ride around and let's see what we got here. Is this our? Yeah, that's our original base where we stopped, guys. Awesome. Okay. Well, let's go take a look at what is over here. Let's see what we got. Might be a good idea to build a connector over there near our solar panels so that we can charge our batteries off of the solar panels. What do we have here? Let's see. I don't know if we're right side up or anything right now, so pull in a little bit further. Oh. Ship tools. This is a construction facility. And we are flipped around right now, so we need to... We're going to roll around. We were looking at it upside down. There we go. That is our construction facility. That's pretty expansive. That might be our new home base for right now. I see we've got some doors that don't seem to be working again. We'll go ahead and park right there. Did I leave room for the miner to get out? I did. Alright. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off my engines. And we're going to go ahead and get out. We're going to... I should hit that depressurize. We're going to hit number 8. And then see how that's light blue? That means that it's depressurized. If it was yellow, that means that there's a leak somewhere and it cannot pressurize. Just a heads up. There we go. Alright, let's go check this place out. This looks kind of cool. Construction facility. There's our gravity generator, so we know we got gravity there. We got a broken door. Just doing a quick look, see what's in here. Oh, there's a survival kit in progress. And the power to that off. That's supposed to be a bed. Alright, okay. Good. Look there. What do we got up here? We got a lot of holes. We got windows down. Ooh. We got another ship, guys. We're going to have to start changing our pod. We're going to have to make it into a carrier. That'll be nice. More broken doors. Let's see what these need. That one doesn't need too much. That one needs a bunch. And mostly, the steel plate is mostly there, so that's the big kerfuffle. Oh, steel plate's there. See, these are going to be much more easy to repair than the previous one. Oh yeah, those are going to repair quite easily. Let's go in this way. Let's see what we've got. Oh, this is just an observation. Okay. Let's see what we've got here. This is a construction. This is a salvage ship. So you've got a welder here, so you can weld from the ship. You've got a grinder here, so you can grind items down. We got batteries that are obviously going to need some help. Would anyone like to guess what our task is going to be? Provide power. I think that's going to be our task. Okay. Cool. We got a container. Let's see what's in it. Ooh, guys, that's uranium. Super rare, hard to get. Can't be refined by a basic refinery. We got extra batteries, our power cells, that's good. All this other stuff it looks like is going to be needed to fix the, I'm going to say is going to fix the doors. I think that's going to be what it is. So, let's see what we have here. Look at this. We got a huge hydrogen engine. This is a full assembler. This is an advanced assembler, guys. That is huge. That is awesome. yeah, we got a good start here. So why don't we, I think this would probably be a good time for us to call it a day. We've taken on one task area. We've got ourselves a mining ship. We're going to have ourselves a construction ship here shortly. And that's going to be, like I said, we're going to start having to reconfigure our pod to be able to carry these items. So we might have to make some changes to that connector up there. But I think we will call it a day for right now. You know, I can do this in the seat. All right. We got a lot of good stuff going on. This has been fun, guys. I hope you've enjoyed it. It's been so long since I played this. It's like playing it for the first time. It's great. You guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you liked it, please hit that thumbs up. And if you want to see the videos that we come out with following this, hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so you can be informed when we got new stuff coming out. Other than that, I appreciate you following along with me today. Guys, stay safe, take care of yourselves, and take care of others. Bye-bye.